Hello families, and how are you today? I thought today we could do an art project together. I have some small index cards, so we can make several small different paintings. I have some yellow paint, and I have some green paint, and I have some blue paint, and I also have some red paint. In this art project, we're going to do two different things. We're going to use a Sharpie marker, which a Sharpie marker is not a washable marker. It's a Sharpie, it's a permanent marker. So we're only going to mark onto the paper, not on anything else. And I also brought some crayons in different colors. And what we're going to do is do some watercolor paint with these different things. What else do we need to paint with? Well, usually we use a paintbrush to paint, and I also have a bowl here of water and a paper towel on the tray. So I set up the table and my tray. To protect the table, I put down a cloth, and then I'm using a tray. If you don't have a tray, you can use maybe a cutting board, or you can put down some paper, anything just to protect so that you don't get anything on your actual table. So what we'd like to do to start with is you take your Sharpie and you make anything you want onto the paper. What would I like to write today? So maybe I think I'll make a couple of squiggly flowers, and maybe a diamond, and some squiggly lines. So make a very good diamond there. There we go. Doesn't have to be perfect. You do anything you want, any lines or any designs that you want onto the paper. So here I have my designs I chose to draw onto the paper. Then I'm going to take my paintbrush and dip it into the water first. Kind of dab it. And you don't need very much paint. Just need a tiny bit of paint. You don't need a lot of paint. And what you want to do is you want to paint on the whole paper. So you can do one color. And you want to go from the top to the bottom, from side to side, from corner to corner. If you want to do more than one color paint, then the best thing to do, so you don't mix the colors, is dip your brush into the water and then dab it, some of the water onto the paper towel, and then pick a different color paint. So how about a little bit of red and go on next to. It's okay if you kind of intertwine the colors on the paper, because sometimes if you mix them together, it might make a different color. So I have my red and my yellow, and then I dip it into the water again. My goodness, look what's happening to my water. What's happening to it? It's not clear anymore. It's changing colors when I clean my brush. Then I dip a little bit of water and pick a different color. How about some blue? I put blue on here all the way up and down to cover the whole paper. You don't have to use every color. My colors, water's changing colors again. But because you don't want to mix your paint up, you definitely want to wash your brush between each one. And then we do a little bit of green. And I didn't have to use every color, but I like using all the colors. It looks very pretty. And then look what happens if you color just on top of the Sharpie. You still see the objects under the paint. So when you use the crayons, it's sometimes better to use a darker color crayon. So maybe like a red or a brown or a black if you have black. I don't have black in my crayons, but I have this dark purplish color. So I think I'm just going to make some circles. And then I'm going to take my paintbrush again and clean off all the green paint. My water. Right now my water looks like it's a bluish color like the ocean. And I think I'm going to take a little bit of red. Like I said, again, you don't need a lot of paint. You just need a little bit. I'm going to take some red. And I'm going to cover the whole thing with red. Just a little bit of red. Not very dark. It's really light. Okay. Very light shade of red. Then I think I'm going to go over it again with a tiny bit of blue and see what might happen. If you look really closely, again, on part of it I used a little too much paint, so it looks really blue. But here in the end, where I didn't have as much paint, it turned a different color. So now it looks purple. So you take red and blue and mix them together, it makes a shade of purple. But like over here, it's really blue still because I used too much blue paint. But I'm sure if you added a little more red paint, it might turn color, or it might just turn red. But you can play with it and see what happens. And the crayon that I drew first in the background still comes through. It'll come even more through once it dries. I made some pictures earlier. This one I did squiggly lines and did rainbow colors. This one I did some squiggly curly cues with some crayon and then did the different color paint. And this one I did some curvy lines. And on this one I made a happy face. And this one I practiced writing my name. I practiced writing with big letters and I also wrote it with lowercase letters. And you can have a grown-up help you write your name if you can't do it by yourself. Or you can write your name yourself and then paint over your name. And it's a great way to practice your letters. Also, if you have siblings that want to help you, you can help do that. And then once your pictures dry, you can display them in your home or you can make them into postcards. If you have a card this size, on the back of the card, you can put a line down the middle and you can put an address, say to a family member or to a grandparent. I'm going to write mine to my grandson, Chase, and I'll add his address and a little message. And you can put a stamp, have a grown-up help you. He lives in Tucson, Arizona. You can put his name and address on there and write a message. And you have a grown-up help you put a stamp on it. And you can throw it in the mail and you can send it to somebody to brighten their day with all the beautiful colors on your painting that you made. If it's a bigger piece of paper, you can always put it in have a grown-up help you find an envelope. If it's too big of a picture, to put into just the mail by itself. I hope you enjoyed our painting time together today, and I hope that I'm finding you all doing very well. I'll talk to you soon.